for a lot of personal reasons. Just to recap who I am, I'm at a company called Influential Social Data and conversion company specializing in showcasing the effectiveness of influencer campaigns by tracking things like sales with influencers. But today is all about Sarah, and but it's also, I want to say, my birthday week, and one thing that comes up during my birthday week is that cake and some corn cookies at Milk Bar. So I'm super excited to chat with you and hear about all the things that you're doing over at Milk Bar. So thanks for being here.
Awesome. Likewise. Can everybody hear me okay? Can you see and hear me?
Perfectly well. At least I can. So I'll speak for us all.
Ritesh, I couldn't be more flattered that you consider me an honorary Canadian. I mean, that's just like that's such a nice thing to say. I hail from North Carolina, so I actually have no direct link to Canada, other than admiration for that place as a home to many a good folk. But I am. Yeah, I am currently at home in New York. And Ritesh mentioned my new roommate. I have a 4-month-old. So, in addition to pivoting our entire business in 2020 at Milk Bar, I also learned how to be a parent for the first time. And it's funny, as Sophia was wrapping up about what she'll take into 2021. I think that has been something that for me as a leader has been one of the most eye-opening things about this year, is just recognizing people on your team as them with their whole selves, where, that this is a year where I wasn't just a marketer. I was also a pregnant woman in a pandemic. And for that being my personal journey, every single person on my team had their own personal journey that was so much more than the tip of the iceberg that you get on
100%.
a Zoom call of this year. And it taught me so much about empathy and expectation. And sometimes we're going to have to sacrifice perfection and having all of the answers for being a team that's moving fast and messy and embracing change and pivoting in real time, while also dealing with who knows how many really, really deep personal issues in their lives. And I just think this year has been so eye-opening in that regard. But yeah.
I applaud you. Anyone who's able to create a human being, during this time and be a human being and show up for yourself, round of applause for sure. And I know a lot of growth has come for a lot of people just thinking about, balance and how to maintain professional goals and, your whole self and sanity. So you mentioned the word pivot, and it makes me want to tap into some of the things that you guys have done this year, pivoting either existing marketing plans. I know there's been a couple of launches inside grocery and other retailers. So tell us a little bit about those efforts.
Sure, I'd love to. So quick backstory on Milk Bar, for those of you who might not be as familiar. Milk Bar was a bakery slash dessert shop founded by celebrity chef Christina Tosi actually 12 years ago. It was started in 2008 as an offshoot of Momofuku in the East Village in New York. And for, I would say, its first 7 or 8 years of existence, it was they really bootstrapped it with a kind of a feisty band of bakers and baristas who would open a location, hustle enough and make enough profit from one location to open another. And they slowly expanded their bakery footprint, very thoughtfully, purposefully, but very much bootstrapped for almost a decade. Milk Bar continued to gain more and more momentum, more and more of kind of like an insider, like foodie fan following. And if you've tried our desserts, we do cookies, cakes, soft serve, pie, cake truffles, very sugar heavy, very indulgent. I think if there's one theme you could just take away from today's lineup of speakers, it's that in the year 2020 vices are back.
We don't know if they went away, but they're definitely
yeah.
here and present and open.
But Milk Bar's product profile, we unabashedly own sugar and deliciousness and indulgence that's really quality, and really just irresistibly special. So the team built its footprint for nearly a decade in the bakery side of the house, but Christina realized that she was sitting on something really magical in terms of fan following, the equity of Milk Bar, the types of products that we made, and she wanted to expand it. She is very much an artist and a creator with big dreams. And so she brought on a team of leaders to kind of help her identify how to, in short, make Milk Bar one of the most beloved dessert brands in the world. Our goal is to make Milk Bar products household products and a household name. We like to consider ourselves potentially the Oreo of the next generation. So we have no shortage of ambition, but it's we're on a really fun journey in expanding what that means. So I joined the company over 3 years ago. I worked in brand marketing at Coca-Cola before, so I was doing like the biggest of big CPG, like Super Bowl campaigns, the world's most sophisticated supply chain, and shifting to what was really still very much a homegrown business operating in startup mode. But what we put into motion, going on 3 years ago, was the shift from just a network of brick and mortar bakeries to use a very overused business buzzword, an omni-channel brand. Which I like taking no mess when I even talk like that, but but we invested a ton of energy and infrastructure into building an online business. So we right now have bakeries in 6 different markets, but we ship birthday cakes and what we believe are really thoughtful dessert care packages everywhere nationwide, direct to consumer overnight. And we think that's a really fun place for us to play because, like, if you think about food gifting, you might think about like your grandmother sending you a carton of grapefruit or the antiquated like wine and chocolate basket. But there's nothing that's really like youthful chef sort of product flavor forward that's really creative and sort of millennial Gen Z minded in the food gifting space. So we've identified a really fun white space for us to play there and to go capture. So we invested quite heavily in building out our D2C business, but then the other part of our business that we have been slowly working on for the past couple of years is the CPG side. And so this year, we had been working on product development for 2 years to launch in Whole Foods in April of this year. And of course, everything just blew up in March of this year. So you know what they say about the best laid plans. But we have carried on, and we are thrilled to report that we're building out our CPG or grocery business this year as we speak. So we launched a line of cookies, as well as what we call truffle crumb cakes, which are kind of like cake truffles, but they are very inspired by and reminiscent of your old school like snack cakes. So think zebra cake, think Hostess Little Debbie, the things that you might have snacked on when you were a kid, when there were like no rules about what you should and shouldn't eat, or you should and shouldn't feed your kids. We're very much in this unapologetic, like, screw the rules. If I'm going to treat myself, I want it to be absolutely irresistible and worth it. And I want to enjoy every morsel. And so that's what we're going after with all of our products, but in particular around CPG, where, we we want to add a little spark, a little nostalgia, a little fun back to the aisles of the grocery store. I know
I
a
love
lot
that.
of people today have talked about the shift in consumer tastes from perhaps being more functionality minded or health minded, or it's either the additives or the restrictives when it comes to food. But now we're in a place where we're like, we just want to eat delicious shit, like now more than ever I want to eat my Kraft mac and cheese. And so what we thought might be a challenging time for us to enter grocery actually wound up being a bit of a fortuitous time, as shoppers were just embracing indulgence. And so we currently have um, cookies and cake truffles in Whole Foods and Target nationwide. Those two retailers have been amazing collaborators and incubators with us on our journey. We're expanding our CPG distribution kind of thoughtfully in regions where we already have a presence. And we're already looking at some new categories for next year, which stay tuned. But they're fun and exciting, and we'll put Milk Bar in even more parts of the grocery store. So it's been a crazy journey. If I think about the makeup of Milk Bar a year ago today, we were much more heavy on the business side, obviously, in our brick and mortar business. But now, e-commerce and CPG has completely taken off, and it's accelerated a very distinct change in the makeup of our business that is only for the better, that has fortuitously served to accelerate us towards a destination where we wanted to go. But, we just had a few curveballs in getting there and maybe landed there a little sooner than we would have on our own volition. So that's a
Yeah.
little bit of context around the Milk Bar and the journey that we're on.
I love that trajectory and, background. I love Christina Tosi. I love the fact that she just kind of went forward. And to your point on creating something that's indulgent, like if you're going to do it full swing. I just don't want a low fat cookie. I don't. I really want it to be full of everything. And then, knowing that it's the holiday season, there's so much to celebrate and, despite everything that we've endured, I should say, in the last 9 months, there's so much to look forward to. So thanks to Milk Bar and other, brands like that for just giving us a little something and taking risks and not saying sorry about it, because what is the point in that? I love
Exactly.
that. To talk more about, I'm curious to know, I also wanted to point out too, that it's a really fun brand to look at. I mean, design, brand, voice, it's definitely there full swing, and social media has been a huge component. You guys have had a presence on a couple different platforms. Tell us about the role of social and how I know a lot of brands have leaned into it a little bit more this year, just given where consumers are, but talk a little bit more about that.
Oh my gosh, we thrive on social media. And, we had a lot of momentum just from the Instagram culture of 5 years ago when it was all about taking pictures of your food. So we really thrived on the Instagrammer who wanted to take a shot of a soft serve against our neon sign. And we still try to cultivate those moments of the must get UGC. So we have a cake wall in LA. If you've been by there,
Down the street. It's literally down the street from me.
it's totally a stale tactic right now, but it works, guys. Let's not pretend like the Instagram wall doesn't work, because it does. But we, when I started building the team, I'm old, right? I'm a parent now. I don't pretend to be what the movers and the shakers and the cool kids are doing. So I hired a 22-year-old straight out of NYU and said, just build social, just do it, run with it. And I gave her total license. And that was a couple of years ago. And she has just totally thrived. And I think that's a place where we kind of took the guardrails off. I think with so much of marketing, you can almost over rotate towards what are our objectives? What are our KPIs? Talk to me about our engagement score. What's the trend? And I think this year in particular, we just said, Michelle, like just go out there. Like everyone is glued to their phone. Everyone is stuck at home. People are craving content. Like ignore the KPIs. Just go out there and just produce. Do your own thing. And she's just totally thrived. And I think having someone, she's got a handful of people that she works with now, and they just have their ear to their ground, and they get the platform so much more than I would, or I think like an agency made up of a lot of different people who are servicing us perhaps would. They're so close to our brand, and they're so close to what's happening on the channels, that it's been really magical. I think what we are the most amped up for is TikTok. We unabashedly love TikTok. We will put something out on TikTok that like is it's unfiltered, it is not high quality, it's banana. I mean, it's just like it just allows you to put out content that like maybe you wouldn't be able to get away with. But we've had an incredible year there this year, and we're driving like 3 times the traffic from a TikTok post than we are from an Instagram post. It's just wild. So
I love that.
we love the social channels. We really try to harness it. We are engaged with our community. We respond to almost everyone. We repost a ton. And we work with a lot of influencers on the social channels too. And that's been quite fruitful for us. So that is such a strong playground for Milk Bar that we're lucky to have, and we hope to keep cultivating for a long time.
Totally. I saw and it's actually, I don't know if you have any insight into how it was made, but you guys did a duo of like the cake and the wine glass, and you put it on there, and like if everyone puts it on, it just makes a really, I don't even know if that's called something specifically, but it seems like a great idea for, I'm having 2 guests over because you can't really do more than that. But I was like, what if I get a cake and make a really awesome TikTok video like Milk Bar did?
Yeah, absolutely.
COVID friendly, all of that is sanitary. I love that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned influencers and thinking about social, definitely a brand, unafraid to take risk, and it looks like it's paying off, which is great to see. Are there other forms of like research, or how important is research and maybe thinking about consumer trends across the board, whether it's the consumer that always, picks up in store, or the consumer that's constantly gifting? How important is research for you?
Yeah, we try to keep our ear to the ground at all times. So there will certainly be different times within the year when we might do more formal research studies by either looking at secondary research or hosting focus groups of our own consumers or prospective consumers. We definitely do that when it's appropriate, but I think for us, it has been more impactful to keep an ear to the ground all of the time. So if there are things that people are asking for on social, or feedback that we're seeing on social, or feedback that we're seeing on Amazon now or Target.com, we try to be very in tune to what's coming in every day organically in our digital footprint. And that has been super critical for us, especially as we've launched into grocery, and quickly catching questions about consumer confusion, or perhaps product quality or flavor issues that we might want to better explain or communicate. We also have a just kick-ass customer experience team who is in the trenches at this time of year, getting everyone's holiday care packages out. But we try to distill monthly insights from the inquiries that are coming in, like where people are sharing feedback, where we're having servicing opportunities, et cetera. So I would say that our power lies more in constantly keeping our ear to the ground than it does to necessarily conducting large research projects. We're also still at a life stage where we move really quickly. There aren't as many functions or layers as you might see. Like when I worked at Coca-Cola, there was a huge knowledge and insights department, and research could take months at a time. And of course, it was very valuable. But because we are still small and we are moving so quickly, it is more valuable for us to be able to get insights in real time and address them in real time, rather than charter what could be like bigger research experiments, if you will.
Totally. And what about when it comes to creative? I know social, I mean, creative, it seems like it's doing perfectly fine. I'm sure it shows up in a couple of different ways for you guys as well. How are your teams managing to stay creative? Everyone's remote, I'm sure. And like, what does a creative session look like for a Milk Bar team? Are you guys, I feel like you guys are throwing things at a wall and it's flashy and fun, but maybe I'm thinking a little bit broad about it.
Gosh, I am actually all ears to the audience on this because I won't pretend that we have the answers. I think, honestly, we're all at a point at the end of this year where we have been alone in our apartments in front of Zoom for months, and it is difficult to get creative inspiration because you are still mainly getting stimulus from your phone. You're not necessarily out in a museum, you're not traveling, you're not even really jamming on a whiteboard with your team like we used to. And it's so tough. We try to do as much face to face as we can. I think that's been really important for us. We've also tried to, I think what I mentioned with social, for example, is like take some of the pressure off in terms of some of the parameters of like, okay, if I'm just putting out content to experiment and see what works rather than say like, I must increase my follower count by 15,000 this month. And if I don't do that, I have failed. I think this year relaxing some of the metrics in the spirit of experimentation has been really important for us. We acknowledge that this year is different and no brand or marketing team really quite knew how to navigate it at the beginning. So I think relaxing some of the rules and being more open-minded about how we get work done and what we put out there has been really important for us. But yeah, I mean, I think we all crave being together and putting mood boards up on the walls and things that we used to be able to do that ties everything together so nicely. It does have an impact and it's really hard. But at Milk Bar, we've got an incredible in-house creative team. We do everything ourselves, pretty much with a few freelancers on our roster, but the team is they're in it, they're committed, they just stand so proudly by their work that we're lucky because we've got really great stewards behind what we're doing creative and design wise, which has made it much easier for us to navigate this year.
I love that. Do you guys ever experience or experiment with like giveaways or other ways to do like give back or I don't know, philanthropy driven projects? I know you guys have done a couple things in the past. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. Especially this year, it's so important. One thing that we've really enjoyed doing this year is providing treats to frontline workers in hospitals. So we have been providing dessert packages to entire floors of ERs and ICUs kind of around the country since the beginning of COVID. And we've used our community to nominate recipients. So that's been really powerful. We also, one of my most favorite partners of ours is a great organization called the Birthday Party Project. And what they do is they provide birthday cakes and birthday parties for children who wouldn't otherwise have them, mainly children who are in shelters of some kind. So we are a proud partner of that organization, and we provide birthday cakes for kids all around the country to make sure that they're celebrating their birthday. And in pre-COVID times, we also actually attended parties and helped like set up games and like dressed up as like huge like furry mascots and like random things like that. It's awesome. It's a great way to be involved. I think we try to keep it close to what we stand for, which is connection and belonging and celebration. And so we we recognize this year more than ever, as does every other brand, that you're part of a much bigger community and much bigger world, and having an element of your mission and purpose that is rooted in giving back and being a good member of society is not a nice to have. It is a must do. It's the table stakes of being a brand today. And so I'm excited about even growing that out further in the year to come.
I love that. It actually even leads me to think more about your internal process. As I'm sure you guys experience growth, you're looking for, people to fill different roles, and there's certainly hard skills that they, should have. But what are some of the newer, maybe soft skills that you're looking for in people, given the year that we're in, and kind of like the ways that people are going to need to work moving forward, and, changes that might have happened with internal structures? What are some of those skills you're looking for in new hires?
I think it is now more than ever the ability to navigate ambiguity. And I'm the kind of person, like, I've worked at huge companies my whole life before coming to Milk Bar. I went to business school. Like, I've been trained in the 3 to 5 year plan and like the framework for executing growth. And I think what we all learned this year was that we're planning for next week. Like, there is no 12-month roadmap, because none of us know what the next 12 months look like. And just the ability to operate like that when there's no answer, and where no one has a better crystal ball than anyone else, that is so critical in a company like ours, pandemic or not. Things change so quickly, and we're still at a small enough clip that, we move fast, we iterate, we're agile, we change courses sometime. And for us, it's the kind of person who is comfortable with that and who isn't going to latch on to one idea and not be able to shift directions or balance perhaps a couple of ideas at the same time. It's just, that's the way that we're going to be doing our business probably for at least the next 12 months. And it's a little bit different, it's a different thing to look for. But I think, along with ability to navigate ambiguity and not having a roadmap necessarily, it's just attitude. Like, attitudes are so infectious, and having a positive spirit this year is the only way that a lot of us have been able to keep going for hours at a time. And I know you guys feel the same. So I think in times it can feel really stressful, the ability to say, hey guys, it's just cookies. It's just cookies. Okay. Fired in the drama. You have no idea the micro dramas that can come up about sprinkles, or like whoever knows. But like the ability to take a step back and say, like, hey, we're healthy, we're grateful, we're doing okay, we have a lot to be thankful for, and to just keep that energy up is more important than it's ever been.
I mean, I think all brands could take that advice. I feel like that also transcends, like, on a personal level. It made me think, as you're talking about it, made me think of like a good travel person, when we're able to travel again, but someone who can kind of just like go with the flow. Like, we want good travel people. You want to be a good travel person too. So
I'm gonna use that again. That's a really good one.
I love that. Okay, so I know we're thinking only about next week. However, I do have a question about what you predict in the next, year or so, or even the next decade, for the entire, thinking about desserts as an industry, or bakery, even, we could keep it broad and say CPG food, but do you have any predictions for this category in the next year or the next decade?
Yeah, I think one sort of cultural shift that we've seen this year that I am optimistic will continue is the interactivity of consumers at home. People making their own stuff, following recipes, iterating on recipes, creating something with their own hands that's different and sharing it. I think a lot of us have developed new kind of creative outlets and hobbies and almost meditative releases out of necessity. But one thing that we've seen in our industry is that people really want to get hands-on, and sometimes it's about maybe coming together with a family member for 45 minutes to bake a pie. It's that interaction rather than the pie itself that people are craving. And like what I'm excited about for Milk Bar is for us to continue to build that interactivity and consumer experience, one-to-one, that is more than just I'm going to buy these cookies and keep them in my pantry and eat them when I want to have a snack. It's like, oh, actually, I do want to try that icebox pie. I think it's interesting that in a year where people have spent so much time in front of screens, the flip side to that is that people are more embracing of actually doing something with their hands and making something. And like I don't know, I ordered a bunch of like colored pencils like everyone else did at the beginning of this. Like people want to be part of the process, and there's more interest, I believe, than ever in the consumer wanting to be a creator. And I think that there's a lot of places that brands like Milk Bar and other brands that can inspire any form of hands-onness or interactivity can keep going and keep building on in the future.
I love that. I mean, hands-on. I like to cook, but I'm not obviously the best baker at all. But I have been thinking about it because it's December. Like that's one thing. But I'm also looking at the questions, and people are wondering if there's going to be virtual lessons on how to make or decorate cakes, or if you guys are doing anything interactive this season or even moving forward.
Yeah, actually, Christina Tosi, our founder, does a live baking class every Monday at 2 p.m. on Instagram Live. So you can always tune in every week. And then in January, we are partnering with the monthly platform, which is kind of similar to like a masterclass, but we're offering an actual curriculum. So you can sign up and take a series of classes with Christina, where it's like the Instagram lives are for the sort of amateur home baker, but the monthly classes are for someone who like really wants to get into the science of it all. And so that's going to be really exciting too. And we're glad to be able to do that. We used to do baking classes in person, but of course we're not doing that now, but that's a nice way for us to continue on that part of our consumer experience for more people.
Love that. Is there like a prerequisite for the monthly? Okay, just interest, love, and excitement.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great gift too to like give someone.
It is a great gift
for novice baker. Let's see. And someone else is asking if there's a Milk Bar loyalty program, and how does that loyalty play into your overall marketing strategy?
Oh, that's such a great question. We just rolled out a loyalty program online for our D2C business on milkbarstore.com. And that's really cool because you can sign up and input all of your like birthdays. I don't know if you're like me, you forget birthdays of even the people who are closest to you, which is really embarrassing because I'm like in the business of birthdays, but this makes it easy for you. You'll just get an email or a text message that says, hey, Tiffany's birthday is next week. Click here if you want to send a cake. And it's super easy. We're excited next year to be integrating that program with a loyalty program within our retail stores, so that we have a broader connection of all of our different touch points, and we can better reward and incentivize those who are addicted to corn cookies or birthday cake truffles or whatever. If you've been hitting the stores for a long time, it's now time for us to hit you back with something more special. So
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I mean, to talk about corn cookies, so I'm the type of person that I love a good indulgent moment, but typically it's with like wine or something sweet in that way. The best thing about the cookies, though, you have like savory-ish cookies, and that has been like game changer for me and stuff. So thinking about these programs, that's exciting to hear. Someone wants to know more about TikTok. Do you have any favorites, and what is that creative process like in creating TikTok videos? I know you mentioned your social lead is kind of just running with it, and it's awesome so far.
Yeah, I mean, she's out there. She talks to everyone. She has there is like no one that she will not DM. Like celebrity, D'Amelio, she does not care. Like there is no one that she won't reach out to. So she's been really aggressive in cultivating a lot of relationships for us. I think food TikTok is just also super fun. There's so many people out there who are doing like have a really interesting angle. My personal favorite, I love Tabitha Brown. I mean, just like so lovable.
Great.
Yeah. But I think it's all about being open-minded and just being willing to experiment and like so much of it is the art of putting together the content with the music. So like that's something that like if you can crack the music it's just
Everything
really
else
special.
falls in
It's
place.
really special how that stuff comes together. And you know, like do they have all of our data? Yes, probably. I don't know. There's like a whole other world of risk that we're assuming with TikTok, which is kind of like the elephant in the room, I guess. But just from a pure like playground standpoint, we've had a lot of fun with it this year.
I mean, and it just makes a lot of sense again for your brand and the type of brand that you've been. Really useful, really fun. Like you'd be remiss not to play around with that platform. And I mean, the numbers show it. You guys have, you know, a true cult following. So that's awesome to see. I know Ritesh is kicking me off, but I have one more question.
Yeah. I've got to run myself, but I'll try to do more super fast.
What are you looking forward to? That's it. End of the year is coming. Anything personal or for professional you're looking forward to?
Oh gosh. I mean, I want to go to a museum. Like, this is so cliche, but like, I'm actually like physically yearning to be stuck on the BQE, like on the way to or from JFK in a way that like used to be just like the bane of my existence. And now I'm like, oh, remember when I used to like Uber to LaGuardia? I mean, like I would crave being stuck in LaGuardia traffic right now. So I don't know. It's interesting the things that like really grind your gears and then they get taken away and you're like, oh, those were the days. So I don't know.
No, great answer. Thanks, Sarah, for being here. I appreciate the time for sure, and I'm sure the audience does as well.
Likewise. Thanks, guys.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. I know you got to run, so I won't keep you long, but thank you so much for your comments. Really nice to see you back in the swing of things and say hello to your new roommate for us. And thanks so much for giving us a few minutes of your time.
Thank you.
And thank you. Yeah, thanks so much. And thanks, Tiffany, for moderating a really good conversation. Appreciate that. So we have come to the last topic of the day today, and thank you all for staying with us, and hopefully you're finding this conversation insightful and valuable, and please do continue to send some really terrific questions